A journey through the night, reassembled. The sound of the night shift never really leaves me. Even when I sleep, I still hear the monitor beeps, the faint shuffle of rubber soles on polished floors, the sigh of another patient trying to hold on to hope. Sometimes I wonder if that's all I've become, a body moving through fluorescent light and exhaustion. Work. Sleep. Repeat. Or something close to that. At 47, life feels like an overplayed song. I've already lived the chorus, the marriage, the betrayal, the divorce, and now I'm stuck in the hum between verses. My teenage son is my only duet partner, though even he seems to be composing his own melody these days, rebellious and loud. Flash, the hotel morning, he's curled beneath the covers, pretending not to hear me. Breakfast, I say softly. He mumbles something about pancakes, a small word that breaks the silence like light leaking through a curtain. Downstairs, the buffet glows under warm lamps, pancakes soaked in syrup, scrambled eggs, omelets, bacon that crackles like memory. He piles his plate. I settle for something simple, a well-balanced omelet, a fragile peace offering between us. We eat without words. It's not distance. It's something gentler, two people trying to breathe in the same rhythm again. Cut, the tournament that waits, 3 hours away, that's where my name appeared on a board once. A bowling tournament. My small rebellion. My unlikely salvation. It began as nothing, just a way to escape the endless cycle of hospital corridors and sleepless dawns. I joined a local league last year, half out of boredom, half out of loneliness. Funny how something so ordinary can become your lifeline. Ball lane. Pins. The crash, it was louder than the echo of my divorce papers hitting the table. And then came the invitation, an official tournament, months of practice, hours of striking at ghosts. Flashback. The last time I left him alone, a friend had come over. By the time I returned, the garage was half wrecked, a childish disaster dressed as fun. Son, trying too hard to grow up. I remember standing there, silent, watching the wreckage, realizing that guilt has a sound. It's the quiet between a mother and her child after something breaks. Return, the weekend escape, so this time, no risks. A hotel near the tournament, the two of us together. He'd have the pool, a luxury he hadn't stopped mentioning since we checked in. I'd have my game, my reminder that I was still capable of joy. That morning, before the match, before the cheering strangers and the echo of falling pins, there was only breakfast. A mother. A son. Pancakes. A fleeting moment that felt like balance. Night shift again. By the time the hospital swallowed me again, the memory of that weekend felt like something I'd dreamt. The lights buzzed. The clock ticked without mercy. I moved from room to room, from one fragile heartbeat to another. Sometimes I catch myself thinking, compassion stretches like an elastic band. You keep pulling until you don't recognize the shape of your own empathy anymore. Outside, the city sleeps. Inside, I count breaths that aren't mine. The bowling alley at night, the lane gleamed under dim lights. Pins waited like quiet adversaries. For a moment, the world held still. No monitors, no beeping machines, no responsibilities waiting at home. Just me, and that thunderous sound of release. Even now, I replay that sound when the nights grow too long, when my son drifts further into adolescence. When the hospital hum drowns thought, when the past claws quietly at the edges of my calm. I remember that weekend, the pancakes, the pool, the lane, the crash of pins, the way we smiled without speaking. Even in a world that repeats like a worn-out record, there are still notes worth holding on to. I wasn't supposed to be telling this story, not at 47. Not after the long nights, the sleepless shifts, the antiseptic air of hospitals that clings to your skin even after the shower. But maybe stories don't wait for the right moment. Maybe they spill out when life becomes too heavy to hold alone. Pancakes and neon, the smell of pancakes drifts up again. Syrup, warmth, something like home. My son, half asleep, mumbles into his pillow, just 5 more minutes. I pretend to be stern, but the softness in me wins. Always downstairs, we sit in silence. He drowns his breakfast in syrup. I eat slowly, watching him chew with the quiet certainty of someone who has no idea how deeply he anchors me. Outside, the day yawns open. A tournament waits somewhere beyond the edge of town. Inside, the mother in me still wonders if she's allowed to want something for herself. The road that remembers, driving there felt like moving through old photographs. Every curve in the road whispered something forgotten. You used to dream. You used to laugh louder. The sun wasn't particularly bright that morning, but it seemed to chase away the shadows in my chest. For a few miles, I wasn't a nurse, or a mother, or the divorced woman trying to rebuild her world. I was simply someone in motion. GameStop reverie, the mall hums like a beehive, neon lights. Crowded aired, he walks slightly ahead of me, taller now, almost a stranger, almost still my boy. GameStop. He spots it instantly, the old game, tagged at nearly $60, too much for what it is, yet priceless in what it brings. That fleeting, glowing smile, so pure I could cry right there between the shelves. I hand over the money, plastic bag in his hand, gratitude in his eyes. A small exchange, but it feels like saving something sacred. The night before the shift, the bowling alley glows under artificial stars. It smells of wax and adrenaline. My name flashes on the scoreboard. 3 hours away from home. I can almost believe I've stepped into another life, one where exhaustion doesn't follow me, one where I still belong to myself. The ball rolls. The pins collapse. For a heartbeat, I forget the hospital, the divorce, the endless cycle of duty. I exist fully. Then, the world blinks back, the weight of fatigue, the quiet ache in my wrist. Even victory hums with exhaustion. Between the shifts, morning, again. Or is it still night? The world outside the hospital window is painted gray. A patient sighs in her sleep. I adjust her foreline. Compassion, they say, is a muscle. But mine trembles now, stretched thin. Yet when I close my eyes, I see the shimmer of the bowling lane, the glint of syrup, my son's face reflected in the hotel pool, the loop of love and labor. Sometimes I think life is a circle drawn by fatigue. Nurse, mother, woman, dreamer, and then it repeats. But mornings like these, between long exhausting nights and fleeting escapes, they remind me that monotony can hold small miracles, that even in repetition, there are fractures of light. Pancakes. A video game. A bowling lane. A quiet ride home. Moments stitched into survival. The night tournaments end. I wish I could tell you I won that day, but the truth is, I didn't. Not the trophy, anyway. Fatigue caught up. My hand slipped. My score fell short, yet, when I looked up, there he was. My son, watching from the side, clapping. Smiling. Proud anyway. And in that exact second, I realized I had already won something far rarer, a return to myself, and a connection to him that no exhaustion could erase. The quiet invitation. I never thought I'd share any of this, but maybe someone needs to know that even when your life feels like an endless loop of duty and sacrifice, you can still find fragments of rebirth. In the click of a bowling ball, the taste of syrup, or the faint reflection of your son's joy in a mall window. Life doesn't flow neatly. It folds, it stutters, it doubles back, and somehow, it still carries you forward. The pins blurred. Second place, then fifth. I remember the sound, not of applause, but of the ball rolling too soon, the thud of fatigue landing heavier than the strike. Failure isn't loud, it's the quiet that follows when you realize you've given everything you had left. Sarah won. Her smile was genuine, bright enough to cut through the dull ache of disappointment. I clapped until my palms tingled. There was no bitterness, only a strange, detached pride, as if her victory existed on behalf of all of us who still showed up despite the exhaustion. The bar across the street. Later, there was laughter, brittle, tired laughter, inside a small bar glowing with yellow lights. We drank to resilience, to lost games, to the simple act of surviving another week. One glass became two. I let it. The wine moved like warmth through veins that had forgotten what lightness felt like. Sarah told a story about her daughter. Someone spilled their drink. We clinked glasses again, a soft ritual against the relentless gravity of adult life. Across the street, the hotel waited, its windows flickering with half-slept dreams. The return to quiet rooms. 1:00 a.m. The hallways smelled faintly of chlorine from the indoor pool. My son's room was still except for the muted flicker of the TV, its pale light tracing the soft curve of his face. That light, that small, steady glow. It hit me harder than the loss earlier that day. I closed his door gently. The silence after felt sacred. In my own room, I changed into soft pajamas, the fabric cool against my skin. The TV murmured something meaningless, actors whispering lines that blurred into white noise. I tried to sleep. Sleep didn't come. 3:00 a.m. He stirred in his bed, that quiet half-turn children make when they are dreaming of something they won't remember in the morning. The blanket rose and fell, rose and fell. The rhythm soothed me more than any lullaby could. Gratitude arrived uninvited. It always does in the dark, when there's nothing left to distract you. I thought of the mall, the smile over a $60 used game, the simple joy of pancakes and shared silence, and the shimmering moment of the bowling lane before I slipped from promise to Fifth place, every memory was a heartbeat, looping, overlapping, untimed reflection between heartbeats. Hospitals teach you strange things. How to keep breathing through other people's pain, how to measure time by alarms instead of clocks, but motherhood teaches something else. How to love through fatigue, how to find miracles in repetition. I used to think strength meant endurance, staying awake, staying calm, staying composed. Now I think it's about noticing the rise of a blanket at 3 a.m., noticing that even defeat can hold grace, noticing how a child's quiet sleep can mend something unseen in you. The mirror between lives. There are two versions of me, one counting heartbeats under hospital light and one sitting on a bed, watching her son sleep under the dim pulse of a hotel TV. They are the same woman, split across time, both tired, both grateful, both learning to turn exhaustion into meaning. Sometimes I can't tell which version is the dream. Silent vows and unwritten tomorrows. The night didn't end, it simply folded inward. My heart, heavy yet awake, made a quiet promise to keep going. To keep finding fragments of life worth holding. To learn from every slip, every late night ache, every reminder that love and fatigue are twins who live in the same house. I realized then that my fifth place finish wasn't a loss, it was a reflection. The lane showing me how to begin again, that even in defeat, there was rhythm, meaning, and renewal. Somewhere beyond the window, the world began to lighten, a hint of dawn bleeding into the horizon. I didn't sleep, but I didn't need to. The loop resumes. By morning, life would start again, the shift, the noise, the motion of a nurse moving through her night-made days. But for now, there was this, the hum of the TV, the slow breathing of a child, the memory of wine and laughter, the thud of a bowling ball in the distance, and the faint, miraculous heartbeat of hope beneath it all. Between sleep and shadow, 3:00 a.m. the TV hummed softly, flickering light against the hotel walls, fractured, uneven, alive. My eyes were heavy, but my mind refused rest. Thoughts pulsed like static, the tournament, the mall, the laughter, the quiet ache of being needed and unseen all at once. I remember glancing toward my son's door, the faint sound of movement, the rustle of blankets. Something about that sound pierced the stillness. It was ordinary and yet unbearably human, the fragile reminder that life continues even in sleep. I stared at the ceiling, the shadows shifting into strange forms. For a moment, I couldn't tell where I ended and the darkness began. Fatigue does that, it takes the world apart and rearranges it into something almost recognizable, almost sane. The hall of mirrors. I closed my eyes, or maybe I opened them. It's hard to tell what's real when exhaustion becomes your second skin. The room began to stretch, the ceiling higher, the air heavier, as if I were standing inside a dream that didn't want to let me go. There was a figure across the room, someone standing at the edge of a mirror that looked like a doorway. It was me, older, tired, eyes red from too many night shifts. She didn't speak, she just raised her hand, palm open, as if asking a question without words. Behind her reflection, I saw the hospital corridors, the bowling lanes, the mall lights, all looping endlessly, a carousel of everything I had lived and everything I was trying to forget. I wanted to reach out, but my body wouldn't move. All I could do was watch myself watching me. The unraveling. The mirror cracked, not loudly, but like a sigh, through the fracture. Images spilled out, a hospital bed, a trophy I never won, my son smiling at pancakes, the cold weight of duty pressing down. All of it bled together into a single truth. I was disappearing into repetition. In that half-dream, I heard myself whisper, "Do you need any help with that?" The voice wasn't directed at anyone. It was a plea, to the reflection, to the fatigue, to the loneliness that had hollowed me out. But the voice echoed back distorted, like static caught in the air, "Help yourself first." Then everything dissolved. Waking into stillness, I opened my eyes again to the soft hum of the television. The room was still. My son's door remained closed. The clock glowed 3:14 a.m. I breathed, slow, deliberate. The dream, if that's what it was, left a residue in me, not shame, not fear, but a strange clarity. A recognition that the edge between love and loss, between exhaustion and surrender, is thinner than anyone admits. Tender hope. By dawn, the first light spilled through the curtains, thin and forgiving. Hope, small, persistent, almost invisible, settled in the silence. Every day carries its weight, yes, but also its chances for renewal, for new beginnings, for the fragile, eternal bond between a parent and a child trying to grow in the same fractured world. I sat by the window, hands wrapped around a cup of lukewarm coffee, watching the horizon soften, and in that quiet, I made a promise to myself. To rest before breaking, to listen before speaking, to forgive myself for the nights that blur too much and to never stop finding light in the darkest hours. The room that tilted the room was heavy, not with sound, but with thickness. The air pressed down on me, soft, slow, suffocating. The hum of the television had become a low drone, a pulse matching the one inside my skull. Something had cracked. Maybe it was the silence. Maybe it was me. I remember standing there, or thinking I was standing, the shadows stretching and bending, refusing to stay still. The light from the TV turned everything blue, then gray, then almost metallic. My hands looked strange under it, like someone else's hands, trembling, disobedient. I heard my own voice whisper something, I'm still not sure what. Maybe it was help. Maybe it was stop. Maybe it was nothing at all. My reflection in the mirror across the room didn't move when I did. It watched. It waited, and when it finally blinked, I felt a pull, like gravity had shifted and I was falling inward. Then there was heat. Not real heat, but the kind that rises when shame becomes physical. My body remembered emotions that my mind refused to name. It was confusion given shape, a storm inside skin. I sat on the edge of the bed. My breathing uneven, every sound, the refrigerator hum, the clock tick, even the distant whir of the air conditioner, became unbearable. My heartbeat was too loud. My thoughts, too crowded. The line between memory and moment dissolved. For a second, I thought I saw movement, a flicker of something that shouldn't exist, a shadow that leaned closer. I whispered his name, softly, but he didn't stir. He was asleep, peacefully, untouched by the chaos clawing inside my skull. That was when the guilt turned into nausea. My body shook. My throat burned. I pressed my palms to my eyes, but the images kept forming behind them, flashes, illusions, accusations. I thought about every night shift, every moment of exhaustion, every glass of wine I'd used to silence the noise in my head. I thought about how tired I was, not just of living, but of feeling everything so sharply, and I wondered, when does love become a cage? When does care turn into collapse? I curled up at the foot of the bed, my body shivering though the air was still. The clock read 3:42 a.m. The movie had ended, replaced by static, the kind that eats sound, that fills silence with electricity. Through the static, I thought I heard a voice, my own maybe, whispering, you need help. It wasn't a command. It was a confession, and for the first time in a long while, I listened. The camera isn't real, but she swears she can hear it clicking on, that faint electric hum, the sound of an unseen audience breathing on the other side of the lens. The room hasn't changed, yet suddenly, it feels like a stage. The TV light becomes a spotlight, the shadows, her audience. She sits up, hair tangled, eyes hollow, the taste of guilt still ghosting her mouth. Though nothing has happened, not really. Maybe it did. Maybe it didn't. Reality bends differently at 4 a.m. Her reflection in the black screen begins to move before she does. It leans closer, whispering with a voice that sounds like hers but carries a tone she's never used aloud. So here's my question. She blinks, the words slip out like a ritual she's forgotten the origin of. What would you do, she says, eyes locked on her reflection, if you found yourself trapped, between guilt and want, between love and ruin? The mirror doesn't answer, but she hears static applause, an audience stitched together by her imagination. Her voice trembles, growing louder. Would you run? Would you forget? Or, she tilts her head, would you explore? She laughs, but it's not laughter. It's a sound cracked open by exhaustion. Her reflection smiles back, the same uneven curve of lips, but sharper. Hungrier. Behind her, the room dissolves, walls fade. The bed becomes pixels, the carpet turns into a grid of light and code. Suddenly, she's inside a broadcast, not a confession but a transmission. A channel no one remembers subscribing to. A video that uploads itself. Her voice continues automatically, as though her mind is running on autopilot. Leave your thoughts in the comments below, she murmurs to no one. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. The words echo through the empty space, glitching, multiplying, rewriting themselves into infinite variations. Subscribe to regret. Like to forget. Share to be cleansed. Her reflection blinks once, then twice, and suddenly she's watching herself from the other side of the screen. The viewer and the viewed collapse into one. In that moment she realizes the truth. She hasn't been confessing to the world. She's been confessing to herself, and the world, the comments, the subscribers, the applause, are all fragments of her fractured conscience, demanding answers she doesn't have. The static grows louder, the light burns wider, her image freezes mid-sentence, mouth open in an unfinished word, and then everything cuts to black.